The central, often unspoken truth is that respect is not cultivated in the comfortable, predictable soil of constant availability. It is forged in the fires of risk and autonomy. A man who makes himself too available, too eager to please, and too predictable might be enjoyed for the attention he provides and tolerated for the effort he exerts. But he will not be fundamentally respected. This is because respect is not a transaction where loyalty and sacrifice are exchanged for admiration. Instead, it is an involuntary response to a man's unwavering commitment to his own principles. The respect a woman feels is born from the quiet understanding that the man's core identity is not negotiable. He is not a supplicant seeking her validation, but a sovereign individual whose standards are non-negotiable. This is the man who carries a weight she can't easily shake off, not through intimidation, but through the powerful authenticity of his character. This dynamic plays out because such a man operates from a place of internal strength rather than external need. While other men might react to a woman's displeasure by clinging tighter, offering more, and compromising their values in a desperate bid to secure her presence. This man remains indifferent to such tactics. He understands that her tantrums or tests are not problems for him to solve, but rather reflections of her own emotional state. His calm consistency in the face of emotional storms communicates a powerful message. His world is stable and complete with or without her. This does not mean he is cold or uncaring. It means his emotional well-being is not dependent on her moods. This is what makes him rare, and consequently, invaluable. When a woman encounters this energy, she may outwardly roll her eyes or act stubborn, attempting to downplay its effect on her. But deep in her core, she recognizes the rarity of a man who is not governed by the fear of loss. This realization triggers a profound shift. Her respect skyrockets not because he threatens her, but because he has proven himself to be unbounded by her approval. He has demonstrated that her presence in his life is a privilege, not a necessity. The fear she feels is not a fear of him, but a fear of losing the unique feeling of security, strength, and authenticity that he provides simply by being who he is. She becomes afraid of losing access to his entire world, a world built on integrity and purpose, knowing that such a world is not easily found and cannot be replaced by the attention of other, more pliable men. This is the foundational bedrock upon which genuine, lasting respect is built. The true test of a man's frame, the unshakable foundation of his character, is not how he acts in times of peace, but how he responds to the threat of loss. Most men operate from a deep-seated fear of abandonment, a primal anxiety that they will be left alone. This fear is their greatest weakness, and women are intuitively adept at sensing it. When a woman, whether consciously or subconsciously, threatens to withdraw or leave, the man who fears abandonment immediately crumbles. His reaction is one of pure panic. He begins begging, over-explaining, and compromising on everything he previously held dear. He willingly sacrifices his dignity, his standards, and his self-respect in a frantic attempt to fix the situation and keep her from walking away. In that moment, he communicates one devastating message. His need for her presence is greater than his respect for himself. He believes that loyalty and sacrifice will buy him love and guarantee commitment. But in reality, this desperation only erodes the very respect that is the bedrock of attraction. In stark contrast stands the man who has made peace with the nature of life itself. He understands that loss is an inherent part of the human experience. He knows that women come and go, that desire naturally ebbs and flows, and that love is never a guaranteed permanent state. This acceptance is not born of cynicism, but of a profound and mature understanding of reality. Because he has accepted this truth, he has detached his entire identity and self-worth from the outcome of any single relationship. His sense of purpose, his peace, and his value are derived from within and from his mission in the world. It's not from a partner's approval. Therefore, when faced with the same threat of loss, his response is radically different. He remains calm and centered. He doesn't negotiate for her stay. Instead, he responds with a simple, powerful truth. Do what you need to do. I'll be fine either way. This statement is not a bluff or a manipulative tactic. It is a genuine reflection of his internal reality. In that pivotal moment, he does the one thing that separates the ordinary from the extraordinary. He reveals that he is not governed by her choices. He controls himself. This is what makes him unforgettable. The woman is suddenly confronted with a man whose emotional stability and future happiness are not hers to control. This realization is both terrifying and uninspiring. It terrifies her because the leverage she may have unconsciously relied upon the threat of withdrawal has just evaporated. She understands that if she pushes too hard or plays games, the consequence is not a negotiation, but a permanent loss. She will lose not just his affection, but access to the strength, stability, and leadership of his entire world. This is the power of a man who has conquered the fear of loss. His power comes from the quiet confidence that he is complete on his own, and any relationship is a choice, not a need. This calm detachment is the ultimate demonstration of strength, and it is what makes her fear losing him. For she intuitively knows that his strength is what makes her feel truly secure. The dynamic of respect is not a static state, but a continuous, often silent negotiation. Women, operating from a deep and often subconscious intuition, are constantly running tests to gauge a man's strength, resolve, and most importantly, his fear of loss. These tests are rarely loud, dramatic confrontations. Instead, they are subtle, quiet, and psychological probes designed to map the boundaries of his frame. She might pull back her affection slightly, creating a small vacuum to see if he scrambles to fill it. She may delay her replies to messages, not out of busyness, but to observe whether her absence triggers anxiety and a flood of double texts from him. In more pointed tests, she might engage in light, ambiguous flirtation with another man in his presence, not because she is truly interested, but to witness his reaction. Each of these actions is a question. How secure are you? Does your stability depend on me? The man who fails these tests is the one who reacts from a place of panic. He confronts her with jealous anger, demanding explanations and revealing that his emotions are easily manipulated by her actions. He might start over-explaining himself, pleading for clarity, or worse, showering her with unearned affection in a desperate attempt to win back her favor. In doing so, he provides the answer she was looking for. He fears loss, and therefore she controls the emotional climate of the relationship. His need for her is greater than his commitment to his own peace. The man who passes, however, understands that these are not genuine crises, but tests of his inner fortitude. His response is not one of reaction, but of unwavering non-reaction. He remains calm and carries on with his day as if nothing has changed. If she pulls back, he gives her space and focuses on his own pursuits. If she delays her texts, he doesn't notice because he is engrossed in his own life. If she flirts, he remains amused and unthreatened, his confidence unshaken. This composure communicates a powerful, unspoken truth. His emotional state is his own responsibility and is not contingent on her behavior. He doesn't need to police her actions, because he has already decided what he will and will not tolerate. His value is self-evident and not up for debate. Another common test arrives in the form of an emotional storm. She may create conflict out of nowhere, level accusations he knows are unfounded, or suddenly pick at his flaws. The purpose here is not to resolve an issue, but to apply pressure to see if he will bend, break, or capitulate just to restore harmony. Will he beg for forgiveness for a crime he didn't commit? Will he abandon his logic to appease her emotion? The man who does so reveals his fragility. He shows that his desire to avoid conflict is greater than his commitment to truth and self-respect. The man who holds his frame, however, stays calm in the storm. He allows her to rant and vent without taking the bait. He doesn't internalize the false accusations or get drawn into a defensive argument. He listens, remains composed, and responds with logic and respect, but without apology for things he didn't do. He proves that her emotional tempest cannot shake his foundation. In doing so, he demonstrates he is a man who cannot be rattled. This is what women truly crave, even if they test it. A man whose strength is so reliable that it can hold steady when they themselves are falling apart. He becomes the anchor in the chaos, and that is a man she knows she cannot afford to lose. Passing these tests doesn't mean being cold or dismissive. It means being so secure in oneself that another person's volatility cannot dictate your own state of being. When a woman genuinely fears losing a man because she respects him, the shift in her behavior is not a subtle adjustment, but a fundamental transformation that permeates every aspect of the relationship. This change is not driven by a fear of punishment, but by a deep-seated awareness of value and consequence. She understands, perhaps for the first time, that her place in his life is not a guaranteed right, but a privileged position that must be earned and maintained. This knowledge acts as a powerful motivator, compelling her to bring her best self forward. You will notice she begins to put in effort without being prompted. She takes greater care in her appearance when she knows she will see him, not because he demanded it, but because she recognizes that his attention is a prize, not a given. She becomes more proactive in the relationship, initiating conversations, planning dates, and showing appreciation. These are not random acts of kindness. They are strategic investments driven by the respect she holds for a man she knows she cannot afford to take for granted. This profound respect fundamentally alters her communication. The sharp edges of her tone soften. Sarcasm and dismissiveness fade away. She measures her words carefully, avoiding spiteful language and weaponized emotions, because the risk of causing real damage to the bond is too high. She thinks twice before picking a fight, not because she is suppressed, but because she values the peace and stability he provides more than she values winning a petty argument. This is the essence of respect. It inspires self-regulation. She controls her impulses because she highly values what she has and understands that her actions have direct consequences. She knows that disrespectful words or behavior could lead to her losing access to the strength and leadership he provides. And that is a cost she is unwilling to pay. This shift extends to how she treats his boundaries. A woman who does not respect a man will constantly probe and push his limits, seeing how much nonsense he will tolerate. However, a woman who fears losing him will honor those boundaries, even when it's inconvenient for her. If he states he needs space, she grants it gracefully. If he sets a standard for honesty, she strives to meet it. She actively avoids crossing lines because she fears the consequence, not a verbal reprimand, but the erosion of trust and the potential end of the relationship. His boundaries become non-negotiable rules of engagement that she agrees to because she respects the man who sets them. Perhaps the most significant change is in her loyalty and commitment. A woman who feels secure that a man will never leave often becomes complacent, allowing her effort to dwindle and her attention to wander. But the fear of loss eliminates this complacency. Her loyalty becomes natural and proactive. She doesn't entertain the attention of other men or engage in flirtatious games, because the thought of jeopardizing the relationship feels foolish. She is not loyal out of obligation, but out of reverence for the value of the man she has. Knows that if she strays, he will not chase her. He will replace her. This knowledge makes her protective of the bond you share. She invests in the relationship consistently, shows up as a true partner, and works to maintain the connection because she knows it is precious and fragile. The relationship is no longer something she passively enjoys, but something she actively builds and safeguards. All because she respects the man at its center and fears the void his absence would create. Ultimately, the dynamic of respect is not a role one can play or a short-term strategy to be employed. It is the natural result of a man's fundamental orientation to his own life. It is a lifestyle built upon the bedrock of genuine inner security. You cannot pretend to be detached or merely act indifferent as a tactic. Women possess a powerful intuition for inauthenticity. They can sense the subtle energy of neediness and fear beneath a veneer of calm. They know when a man is bluffing, when his proclaimed willingness to walk away is a desperate gamble rather than a quiet truth. Therefore, the goal is not to mimic. the behavior of a secure man, but to actually become one. This requires a profound internal shift where your sense of purpose, validation, and self-worth is decoupled from any woman's presence or approval. You must build a life that is so complete, so focused on a mission larger than any relationship, and so rich with its own peace and fulfillment that a partner is welcomed as a wonderful addition. It's not clung to as a missing essential. This is the core of what makes a woman fear losing you, the unshakable knowledge that you are already complete without her. Your world does not shrink to fit her. Instead, she is invited into the expansive universe of your existing purpose. She understands that your love, while abundant and generous, is not unconditional in the sense that it will tolerate disrespect or chaos. It is conditional upon behavior, respect, and the mutual maintenance of peace. This reality is what flips the script entirely. She is no longer the prize to be won. She must prove herself worthy of a place in your world. This knowledge is not oppressive. It is liberating for her. It provides the clear structure and leadership that allows her to relax into her femininity, to soften rather than seek to control, to nurture rather than to test. Your unwavering strength creates the container within which her warmth can safely flourish. However, this respect is a fragile ecosystem that requires consistent maintenance. It is not a trophy to be won and placed on a shelf. If you demonstrate strength and boundaries for a few weeks only, to eventually fold under pressure, revert to pleading, or sacrifice your values to avoid conflict, the respect she built for you will evaporate instantly. It can be lost in a single moment of weakness. Consistency is everything. You must live your truth every day, not as a performance for her, but as a commitment to yourself. Your actions must continually prove that your peace and principles are not for sale, and that your commitment to your own code is greater than your desire for her approval. The conclusion is this: women secretly respect men they fear losing because those men embody a truth that is both rare and irresistible. They represent strength that does not bend for approval, purpose that is not derailed by emotion, and a self-worth that is unassailable. This man shows her the most powerful truth she can ever be shown, that she is with him because she adds to his already abundant life, not because he needs her to survive. This reality forces her to bring her best self. It inspires not a fear of punishment, but a fear of failing to measure up to the standard of a high-value man. And while she may never articulate it aloud, that respectful fear is the only true foundation for a love that is not based on neediness or dependency, but on mutual admiration, shared growth, and a chosen, cherished partnership. It is the foundation upon which lasting love is actually built.